So we are seeing that things are changing, and that for many people it's just about being aware that things changed radically. So it's really just about, will you allow that or not? Some actors should die, and they are already dead actually. They are just dinosaurs which are keeping themselves alive because they had a good storage of money, so they can live for a little bit. And I would just try to add who are the actors and how the whole dynamics around copyright was going on and what we could expect in the future. So copyright at the beginning was actually the move from the state to fix something which market couldn't fix. So press industry and printing industry couldn't really fix the problem of the author, the one who writes, and then how to actually reward the one who is the writer. So state then just came up with some kind of copyright, and that copyright just became a concept which allowed some industries and market and actors from the market to fuck the game, because we actually ended up in a society where if we will really try to protect the market interests, then we will have a society in which everybody is a criminal. That's what we have now. By law today, everyone is a criminal, and they see that they can fix the situation if they will implement the technology of control and monitoring, and if they will implement the technology in society where market will know everything what any individual does at any moment. So in that sense, that's really bad, and it probably won't happen. But so what we could expect, how the whole thing will be fixed. So when they were thinking about copyright at the beginning, it was really fixing the problem from the gap in between owners of the tools of production and the content producers. And they didn't really think about distribution and the storage because that was in physical space. So that was, and market forces are quite good in optimizing and actually bringing the best service for the consumers when the things are physical objects and when things are in physical space. So postal office in US is a great service. You can have Netflix renting the DVDs in US as one of the best businesses in America, because they have the competition in the field of how to deliver things in the physical space. And that works. In that sense, that just works. That doesn't work in Croatia and Serbia at all because of the monopoly of state companies. So you can't really rely on the postal service in Croatia. I mean, there is no business which you can run on that, and it's quite hard actually to run a courier business or to actually compete in that field. But the situation changed, so we are not anymore talking about the physical space, physical objects in physical space, but we are talking in completely different area. But also the big difference is that state is not anymore the same state which tried to fix the problem in 19th century. Again, because of so many things. So the state these days is much less powerful in a way. It serves the market, and also it sees the market as as force which will fix so many things. So outsourcing from the state is the very big buzzword these days. When you have state and they're trying to build a private public company, which will be so that so many services will be outsourced, and in that sense, again, it's left. It's really left to the market. But in the digital world, we actually got some actors which did services and infrastructure which in the physical space was supposed to be built from the state. So when we think about highways, when we think about water supply, when we think about electricity, we actually know that the state is the one who will build it. But when we think about the infrastructure on the internet, it is run and it is built mostly by private companies. And in the latest state of capitalism, we could see that some market actors, some players, are actually quite easy with the idea that there is no, that they can easily imagine there is no possession in digital world, and that's at the same time something which I see as a solution, but also as a big problem. And these actors are namely, basically, Google, Amazon, eBay, and Yahoo. And these actors are these days the new states. What they are actually providing, they are building the invisible infrastructures for everybody, just like states did it before, but also they compete. So you have states where you can actually, you have a choice to choose, will you be the Google citizen or Yahoo citizen, will you be Amazon citizen or eBay citizen, and in that sense it's at least when you compare that to immigrant policies and politics in the world, it's much better world. Because with Serbian passport, you actually can't really choose to be citizen of any other country. So in that sense, it's a slightly better position. And I would like just to show you what are the business models which they just found out. So Google actually find a way to monetize the things which are for free. So whatever is for them, as many things for free, it's more money for them because of textual ads. They know how to monetize our attention on the internet. If you're on the internet, if you're surfing around, it's probably the one who will really make the money, it's Google. Amazon, for example, just came up a few years ago with the services where if you have a startup company, you can rent the processor's power from the Amazon, and you will actually pay for the tick of the time in a processor. So if your application is using their processors like whatever millions time, you will pay. You will just pay for whatever cycle of the processor, Amazon processor will do. And it's a cloud, it's not one computer, it's just a distributed computer which acts like one computer. The other thing is that they have a storage which is distributed, and you actually pay from the Amazon to store things on their infrastructure, and you pay by bit of information from their hard disks. And also they also build the infrastructure of the database infrastructure. So if you want to compete with Google, and if you're a startup company, probably you don't have enough of money to compete with Google, but then your business plan will probably be to use Amazon infrastructure to try to compete Google, because Amazon is providing you that. And Google will again also go with that business model. eBay, for example, is some kind of the end of the dream of the peer-to-peer trade. If someone told you 20 years ago or 30 years ago that there will be service where people will be able to actually trade things like directly. So I have something in a garage and I want to sell it, and in real time, in a second, someone can find that thing and buy it from me. And that's what eBay actually provided. And they don't need any copyright and any possession in the digital world, and they will make money on that. Yahoo is the same. And Yahoo and all of these companies are not just that they build the businesses in a way that they know how to make money if there is no possession, if there is no copyright, but they also fight the big fight against the dinosaurs in front of us. So they are much more powerful in a fight against the recording companies and the others than grassroots movements like Free Software Movement, Creative Commons, and the others. Because when Nokia, Yahoo, Google, and the others are actually fighting against the Warner Brothers, against Sony Entertainment and the others, that's the real fight. We can actually have marginal cultural meetings all around the world, but the big game is there. And what I'm really actually just questioning is, will we have the solution for the whole thing in terms of finding the new solution from the bottom up, as part of the politics, as part of the articulation, and as part of the empowering the real citizens? Or will it be just the next stage of capitalism, where Google, Yahoo, eBay, Amazon, or whoever will be the actor in 5 years from now, will just provide us the new solution, which we will like and love for a little bit, just like we really loved Windows 95. I mean, that was the great, and we loved the pirated versions of Windows 95, because that's how we actually got into the computers. But then 10 years after, in 2005, Microsoft was not really the company which we would love, because they actually, they're not the company which you really love if you don't really have interest in Microsoft. So that's what I think it will happen in this area with Google and the others. So how to actually come up with the new solution, with bottom-up politics or something like that, I'm not really sure. What I know from the technological field is it's wireless networks, it's a mesh networking, so that we don't really need the centralized infrastructures. It's BitTorrent for sure. So there are technologies, they are used quite hugely, but not enough that I can say that I will bet on the side of the grassroots and not on the big players on the market. And
you did a lot of research or contemplating about the interface, and if you presume that we're going to face with this zillion of so-called content, then will the proposed interface for entering and searching the archives will act as some sort of curator, or this politics of metadata, what's on the front page, what is left out of the search?
I think that user interfaces are just irrelevant, really. I mean, the openness, like, so one example. We had MySpace. It was quite closed. You should be a member of MySpace to see the photos of your friend. So you should go inside there to see something. And then Facebook came out, and it was a little bit more open. At least it was more open for the developers. And then it started to grow, because developers were quite easy to develop for Facebook. So in that sense, openness was rewarded for Facebook, comparing that to MySpace. Then Google just came up with Open Social, some kind of universal widget platform and things like that. So you could see that openness in that sense is valuable. That market, that at least some parts of the market, and they are really powerful players, seeing that being more open is good for them. But in my opinion, it will just continue. So we will have, the last thing which I found on internet is like forum. So you have one forum, you open it up on this website. Yeah, and any topic from that from that forum, you can embed just like YouTube video. So when you embed YouTube videos, you can see it on, I don't know, blog B92. But these videos actually run from the YouTube server. So you have like forums these days. You can embed topic from the from that to any blog. So you can have the same discussion on a million of web pages. And when you do your line in that discussion, it will be in real time. It will be visible in all of these pages. So it's a great technology. It's run by again like a private company. It's not open source. Blah blah blah. So I can see that these kind of things that business will actually recognize that the movability of widgets, of microformats, of information is actually something which empowers users, which gives some extra value for the users, so they will do that. But the real change is actually about who's the owner of the infrastructure, because in that area, that goes into very small hands. I mean, in hands of very few players. And I can't see that user interface in that sense is relevant, because any revolution in the user interface will be bought from the of the user interface, but the infrastructure is actually the main one. Maybe one revolutionary user interface which will actually be so killer app that people will start to use Linux or any other free software, which will use mesh networking, which will use whatever, but we didn't really see the revolutions from the free software world in the user interface area that revolutionary and really bringing the killer app. That's the problem of free software world.
Or maybe this one interface which would connect more or less this physical world with this overlay of first data and then metadata. But it's something else we're talking about. And just one question for you. I'm curious about what you think. This is what I asked Tom about. Is about these copies, digital copies, which are more or less clones. And you said there are a lot of actors on this scene, to say, which refuses to die. But now we have new version of copies, digital copies, which, as opposed to analog copies, they don't have any life cycle. So now we have copies which refuses to die. So what kind of culture of this permanent archiving of verbatim copied moments is developing as a consequence of that?
It's like Stone Age culture.
Stone Age culture.
Yeah, you got writings in stone which you soon can't decipher because you don't have the access to the technology at the time they were created. And I think that having clones instead of copies will change the way we understand archives in terms of culture. It will probably change the significance of culture in our daily lives, in the sense that there will be always immediate access to whatever is actual, but it will still require a certain cultural competency to work with archives, and archives will always have certain relation to politics of class, identity, social structures, or whatever the relevant constellation for engaging an archive is. So I don't think that these things will transform that radically. That it's always the question of similar shifts there have always been, and they have always been in terms of how media were transforming in other media. So.
Yeah, I just always remember what Lori Anderson said as the observation of computers. She said that those are the machines which are tragically unable to forget, which is a big difference from the analog era of being able to interpret from a time distance a certain phenomena or object and to embed some post-narrative. Now these vertical copies make this impossible.
I think that there is also one thing which I think of is that many feedback information, like so that you know about your habits, that you know what you did, that you know what your friends did, that you know that what everybody did is actually a lot of feedback, and it's kind of it's like 20 years ago it looked like that's great, that's the information which people need, like that's the reflection on their life, that's the reflection, but actually it doesn't really lead into the more rational, more optimized, more better world. But actually I think that it will just bring more of magic, more of relational, more ways of kind of new religions, which will be, or the adapted organized religion, which will just use that as a new way of operation. So in that sense, it doesn't really change necessarily in a better way. I just think that the capacity of how to interpret, how to play with semiotics is just becoming more and more important, and yeah, that's just, I have no final conclusion on that, just evidence.
Thanks a lot.
Evidence.
Thanks a lot.